Howdy folks, Nathan coming at you from Detroit, Michigan, and this is the 2024 Acura ZDX. It's all electric, it's all new, and I'm going to tell you in this video all about this vehicle, and you're going to have a full panoramic view of it. You're going to see everything, but before we get started, I wanted to talk about something that this vehicle is based on, and that's the name, ZDX. Why? Because back about 2009, there was this concept that came out that later on in 2010 became a production vehicle called the ZDX. And to be honest with you, it wasn't the most successful Acura out there, but it was one of the most radical. And the reason why was because essentially it was like an MDX, but they cut the back. Think of the Tesla Cybertruck, you know, the way they cut the back. And it looked really cool, but if you sat in the back seat, you didn't really have any space. And that vehicle only lasted a couple years, and they didn't really sell very many of them. In fact, it's probably somewhat collectible, or will be in the future. This is different. This vehicle is based on the Ultium platform from General Motors, so it shares components with it. That's a good thing. Why? Because you have a huge battery. This vehicle has a 102 kilowatt hour battery. Why is that important? Well, think about it this way. That type of battery will give you, if you get the right spec, well over 300 miles range. We'll get to that in just a moment, but here's the important part that I wanted to show you on this vehicle. It's sexy. Look at this. First of all, this is the all-new design language for Acura. So if you're looking at the front end and the back of this, and you're thinking, this would look good on other vehicles. Well, guess what? Even though it has family resemblance to those vehicles, it is indeed the future for Acura design. Now, a couple things I wanted to show you. First of all, this is the top-of-the-line version. So this is the Type S. And currently, if you're looking online, you'll find that there's the A-Spec is sort of their entry level currently for this vehicle, and then the Type S is their top of the line. Why? Because this thing packs 500 horsepower, 2 motors. Yeah, it is the most powerful SUV/crossover that Acura has ever built. It's also got one of the longest wheelbases of any Acura ever built. In addition, if you look carefully, you'll be able to see the big differences between the two of them just by looking at the side of it. And that's because the Type S, once again, their performance version, has a black roof, black mirrors, whereas in the A-Spec would have body color roof and mirrors. And this has 22-inch wheels. The A-Spec has 20-inch wheels. Also, see that yellow caliper? Let's see if I can get out of the shadow there. It's actually easier to see it in the front because the front brakes are much larger than the standard. Look at the size of it. So this is what you get with the Type S. Larger front brakes, 6-piston caliper Brembos. And they're yellow, which is high performance, of course, right? Because it is. All right, I'm going to work my way towards the back. This is basically, by the way, this isn't a concept. This is essentially what you're going to be seeing at dealerships in the very near future. Let's look at the back. Now, we do not have interior dimension numbers. So in other words, I cannot tell you exactly how large the trunk is, but as you can see, first of all, it's not a 3-row SUV. It's 2-row, but it actually seems to have quite a bit of space. And I bet you're curious about this. Let's look. Yeah, probably a good place to put in your plug. I think, oh yeah, look at that. Lifts up a little bit more so you can put in more stuff under here. Sorry about the lighting, and it's kind of show car stuff, but let's just keep on going. And I'm going to close this. And now I want to show you the inside, because there are a few things. Now let's say you want to get the base model, which once again is the A-Spec currently. That comes standard with rear drive. And it's 340 horsepower. Ah, the interior. Ooh, this looks kind of familiar. I wonder why. Well, that's because This was co-developed with General Motors. They used a similar platform in other vehicles. As such, they used similar components. I think you'll recognize an awful lot of these components from General Motors. However, there are a couple things that are bespoke to Acura. First of all, this upper design here and all that's all Acura. And the way they designed the screens, but most importantly, the infotainment is different. So you have an 11-inch screen here for the driver, and then an 11.3-inch screen right here. And there is a volume knob. Yay! These controls here, I've seen these already, and they come almost directly out of a couple GM products that already exist or will exist in the near future. And I'm actually happy about that because there are actual buttons here, as opposed to, you know, the haptic screens that you're touching and maybe or maybe not you'll feel it. And these are actual dials that you can use for your heating and air conditioning ventilation system. I like that. Down here, you do have some storage. USB-C, there's two of them right there, and of course, there you go. And then if you pan down right underneath here, you're going to see there's extra storage down here, which is, I guess for the passenger would be great, for the driver not so much, because I think I'd get a cramp trying to reach down there and grab anything. Steering wheel is almost directly out of a General Motors product, but they made it look Acura with this horn set up here. Flat bottom, great for fat people like me. And then it says Type S right there. Stitching looks unique too. Oh, and this might look familiar to you people who like GM products. Why? Because that's used with Super Cruise. Now this car doesn't have Super Cruise, and I'm going to be honest with you, it's a very, very simple Acura name, but it's the same damn thing as Super Cruise basically. And this system actually lights up. There's LEDs in here as you're driving, and it works at, I believe it's like 400,000 miles of maps that have already been preset that already work with GM products, meaning that this will work with it as well.
Just to clarify, the name is Hands-Free Cruise for the ZDX.
Hands-Free Cruise, thank you. There's only so many things I can keep in this old brain. Now, I was talking about how this system is bespoke. So, in the future, vehicles built by GM will not be supporting what we know as Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, the wireless ones, in the current state. We're not 100% sure what they're going to be doing, but we do know that this vehicle does. So they're going to have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay wireless available here. Now, this screen is set up as, you know, show car screen, but this essentially is what you're going to be getting. And in addition, standard. That means even in the base model, you're going to get the Bang & Olufsen stereo system, and that is 18 speakers, 14 channels, and it was specifically built for this car. And it's new because they weren't using that before. So for those of you who are sound files and really need that good sound, this could very well be your cup of tea. Now, let's exit the vehicle and talk a little bit about pricing, because I know that's important. Oh, yeah, let's look at the back seat. I just thought of that. Producer Zach is currently the camera person. I do thank him for reminding me of things. Now, this seat, I believe, folds completely, oh, nearly flat. It's pretty much there. I think yeah, that's about it. So no special stunts, but it does seem to give you a pretty good amount of space. Let's put this back here. There we go. Ooh, not bad materials. Okay, now that we're back here, looks like we have, oh, it's a proper outlet. I'm guessing 120. I don't know if you can see that, but it's there.
Yep.
And then two, I think, USB-Cs right there. Fantastic. And it looks like heated seats. You can choose, and of course, your own heating vent system, air conditioning system right there. Let me shut this door because, ooh, nice. Okay, so you got the nice materials here as well. And of course, yep. In addition, actually it's a comfortable seat. The squish is good for my big tush. Well, let's drop this down. Ah, look at this. Okay, standard 2-cup armrest. Doesn't really do anything else, but that's okay. And yes, this headrest does move upward. And do I think you could put 3 people in here? Well, I am 6'1", and I'm sitting behind myself, and I have a ton of space. Look at this. And my feet, which are rather large, these are size 13s, and they're big boots, and they fit under the front seat with no problem. I have plenty of headroom as well. Even Roman, with his amazing head of hair, probably wouldn't be rubbing up here. So it's one of the benefits of having an electric vehicle. First of all, you have all the flexibility of just changing the platform and moving things around, but you can also build an interior and not have to worry about a transmission tunnel or any of the other things like a gas tank or any of that stuff. In fact, this is, as I said, an Ultium platform, so essentially it's like a skateboard platform. What I'm sitting on here is the battery pack that goes throughout the bottom of the floor, and then you have your suspension system and your motors, front and rear. Unless, of course, you get the entry-level model, which just has rear drive. Okay, let's hop out and talk about pricing. Oh, let me show you the hood, because there's something you should know. Now, I bet you're wondering, wow, that is a long and sleek-looking hood, especially for an electric vehicle. It is. I actually like this design. However, no frunk. No front trunk. They, in fact, don't really want us opening it. I tried. But anyway, so that means that there's no storage here, but, you know, I guess that's something that you guys will have to deal with. Now, here's another thing to deal with. Entry pricing, base model, they say is going to be around $60,000. This model, starting price, now this is, remember, 2 motors, so all-wheel drive, 500 horsepower, so their most powerful version. This one's going to have a price starting at $70,000. What about charging? Well, as long as you go to the right charger, you can charge up to 180 kilowatts, which is pretty good. That is 190. I'm sorry. God, I was so close. I almost had all the numbers. 190 kilowatts. But that's only if you're able to get to the right charger and it's able to actually charge properly. Okay, what about CCS? Yes, of course it is. But that's only when they start production. Later on, they will be switching over. So for those of you who like using Tesla chargers, yes, indeed, you'll be able to use their NACS. In the meantime, I believe they will have a component where you'll be able to plug in and still use your NACS if you want, I believe. So to kind of encapsulate everything, oh, and you might be curious about the generalization about range. You only lose about 10 miles of range having the 2 motor setup, but that 102 kilowatt hour battery is standard for both this version and the base model, or the it's not base model, entry-level model version. Yeah, and we should be seeing these early 2024. That's according to Acura. Obviously, there's a lot of other questions in terms of the Ultium platforms and all the other things with GM and everything else. We cannot speculate on that right now. However, stay tuned at tflcar.com because we will be following this vehicle very closely. If you have any questions, let us know down below. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you guys next time.